Hello everybody, welcome into the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Truck Series live from the High Banks. It's the World Center of Racing, Daytona International Speedway, and it lays host tonight to this regular season finale. So a lot of drivers that are on that cut line could be looking to either kind of make or break their season right here tonight. Some guys going to need a win, other guys just looking for a solid points night. Thank you all so much for tuning in. You're watching Austin Green on Ghost Racing Network. Well, drivers completing the first and then what will be one more pace lap here as we get the one to go signal. And so with that, let's get right into your starting grid here tonight. Bill Hales will take the pole with a 52.6. No stranger to winning at Super Speedway. Saw him get the job done in the NOMA season opener for the NOMA Truck Series. Jay Stinson, speaking of NOMA, one of the series owners over there, he will roll off on the outside pole here tonight. Michael Miller back in third. Jonathan Herbert in fourth. Kevin Winker in fifth with Jeremy Tolley in sixth. Jesse Wise back in seventh. Michael Newman in eighth. It's going to be Joe Yakes in ninth and Brody Benty rounding out your top 10. Moving on back to row number 6, it's Colton Hardy and Eric Hegdahl. Evan Schilling in 13th with Clinton Woodby in 14th. Mark Beverly back in 15th. Robert Dudley in 16th. Jesse Calloway 17th with John Shilino in 18th. Dennis Steele 19th and Haas Beverly rounding out your top 20. Rick LePage and Lance Thompson making up row number 11. And it's going to be Andrew Hansley and Keith Prince rounding out the field in row number 12. Looking at your race info, it's the winning bid 225 here. And we are in the Craftsman Truck Series as always for the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Series. 90 laps going to be the scheduled distance here tonight. 95% fuel, 4 sets of tires, only one fast repair. Fixed setups as always. There will be a stage break at the start of lap 25 and then 3 green-white checkers if we were to need them. Daytona International Speedway. Now, you might notice things look a little different here. That's because this is Legacy Daytona International Speedway before they did the repave. So this is a very bumpy track, but still just under 2.5 miles in total length. Track temps scorching, just under 130 degrees starting here tonight. 78 degrees, the weather outside, 67% humidity, clear skies, and winds at 7 miles an hour. They should not be much of a factor. By the way, winner of tonight's race gets a free paint from Sonic Graphic Design, and the top 5 will be eligible for the winning bid Diecast giveaway. So guys racing for a little bit extra than just a chance to make a playoff berth tonight, but of course that will be the main goal. Green flag in the air. We are racing at Daytona. Good initial start. Everybody going to roll off nice and clean. These trucks take about a lap or so to get up to full speed here at Daytona. So everybody just going to get organized. Again, the goal is to push that truck in front of you. Try to get out to as big of a lead as possible. However, pushing can only go so far, and you cannot do it in the turns. Too bumpy. In fact, you already see those trucks almost porpoising around, if you will. The back end and the front end up and down, even down the straights, but the corners where it really gets tough, because if that splitter hits one of those bumps, it's really easy for the truck to bottom out. But here's the onboard for Bill Hales as he watches Michael Miller get a huge surge of momentum. Got around, got clear for a moment, but he decided not to take it as he backs up. Look just how tough it is to try to hold that truck glued to the yellow line. Side by side, though, out of turn number 4. Into the tribal as they cross the start-finish line. It will be your pole sitter, Bill Hales, leading the first lap here tonight at Daytona. Everybody out back still keeping it nice and tidy, 2x2. Nobody dared to even think about trying a third lane yet. And you can see now just how tough that third lane's going to be. Now, granted, I think we'll see one at some point. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're stuck back in 20th towards the end of this race, it's going to be your only way to get to the front. Now, you got to have friends to do it, and I'm telling you, we've seen Kevin Winker and Bill Hales work together before. These two definitely good friends of Super Speedways, and we'll see how much they're willing to help each other here tonight. I would think at least for the majority of the race, they'd be willing to work together, and then at the end, maybe we see Winker or Hales make the move on the other one to try to steal one. Jay Stinson, we know what he's able to do over in the NOMA Super Speedway Series, and bringing that experience over here tonight to the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Truck Series as he runs in second with the Rhino Lining sponsor. Pushing Michael Miller, and you can see just how close he is. He's trying everything he can to give him that arrow push through the corner, but he doesn't want to get on his bumper. And on exit, it's kind of that race to who can get to the bumper of the truck in front first. You see right there, in this case, it was indeed Kevin Winker who was able to do just that. Gives the inside another big shove. Michael Miller rolling a little bit more momentum, though. Still 2x2, just 3 laps complete here. Again, with that stage break on lap 25, that should set everybody up to be pretty much good to go on fuel, at least through this first stage. Get 95% fuel. These trucks at this track, you could probably, again, get right around 30 to 32 laps, give or take maybe a lap. But that's the general window. So again, with that stage break on lap 25, nobody going to be worried about that here. This is all about a battle of track position. As you saw Kevin Winker down the front stretch make that move up to the top of the racetrack. Got the push he needed. Just like that, 42 will surge out to the lead as they go down the Daytona super stretch. Staying up there now as they're going to get two, almost three trucks clear as the bottom all of a sudden starting to fall apart here a little bit. Bill Hales is linked up here with Jesse Wise in the 69, but they're just not really rolling any momentum. Interesting to see if they can get this figured out here pretty soon. If that inside fades too much, it'll give guys that are, maybe 4th, 5th on the outside a chance to actually drop down. Nobody doing anything of the sort yet. 5 laps complete as they cross the stripe. And it is still a drag race with Bill Hales in the front row. Kevin Winker, though, the new man up front after we saw him make that move just a couple laps ago. Now, we do have quite a few drivers carrying an onboard camera for us here tonight, and we'll start with Colton Hardy, who's back in the middle of this mess in 10th. By the way, a little bit of a smaller field here tonight than what we're used to seeing at 24, but still, that's a pretty sizable pack at a track like Daytona to keep a lot of drafting through the whole race. And drafting's important enough in of itself, in the fact that you've got to have really at least, I would say, 3 trucks in a pack to make any progress. And when you make pit stops, it's important that you either go with some teammates or a couple buddies you made throughout the race, because if you go down the pits by yourself, you're going to lose way too much time, and that is the best way to get yourself a ticket out of the draft and out of a chance to win this race here tonight. The onboard for Colton Hardy, there you go, showing just how stressful it is being behind. Kind of just in general in the pack, you see the fire out of the pipes there for Brody Benty. But when that truck's bumping around, you're trying everything to hold it down in the hopes that you don't get up into the truck just above you. Just in front of him, though, Michael Newman on the outside. A little bit of a different view here as he sits behind the last Super Speedway winner, Jeremy Tolley, in that 2 truck. And notice the paint scheme he's running is that free paint scheme that he won from getting the win at Talladega. And so we'll see if he can maybe add a second scheme to his arsenal here tonight, if he can get the job done here at the World Center of Racing. As a look at the onboard for Kevin Winker and the job that he's doing so far. He is getting close to leading the most laps here tonight at this point. If he's able to hold on one more, I think he'll take that spot away in terms of at least that category, I should say, of the most laps led so far. Jesse Wise doesn't always carry an onboard for us, but we've got him a couple times this season. We got one for him here tonight. And, as a driver, if there's any track that there's, a good time to have one, it's definitely Daytona. A lot of wheel movement. This track is a little bit more about those sudden wheel movements. But at the same time, what a lot of people don't realize, there's a lot of throttle play that comes into this track as well. You are not full throttle all the time, especially if you are not the leader. Letting off the throttle, just kind of trying to maintain that gap. Don't want to gain too much in the car in front of you or lose too much either. Going down a little bit further in the field, series owner Mark Beverly. The view he's got right now is he's a little bit more buried than I think he would like to be in 16th. As he sees a couple guys almost thinking about jumping to the middle just in front of him. That was a really, really close call there. And then last but certainly not least is Jonathan Herbert, who's looking for a strong run here tonight. And Herbert right now in 7th, down 3 from where he started. It's actually qualified again, top 5. And he's carrying an onboard camera for the first time here tonight with us. See right there, he's up on the wheel. He's got that thing going, and right behind Jay Stinson, he's got to be up on the wheel because he's doing a lot of pushing, a lot of aerosport in the turns, and then even a little bit of tandeming down the straightaway. But it's important that he doesn't push Stinson too much, because again, if you're not the lead pusher, there's no point in really pushing the guy into the truck in front of you. All it's going to do is potentially cause a wreck. So right now, everybody's staying, again, nice and calm, 2 by 2. Just about 10 laps complete now here at the World Center of Racing. Bill Hales with another surge to the inside. Him and Jesse Wise been working together now for a handful of laps. Meanwhile, up top, Michael Miller made that move, got to the front, led a couple laps. But once Kevin Winker took over, it has been all about that 42 truck, and he has not looked back. By the way, I might have noticed that David Traylor, looks like not in the race here tonight, says good luck to everyone this week. Can't wait to get back next week for the playoffs. And I think this is a good time to probably talk a little bit about what points are looking like, because you know they're going to vary tonight, and this could certainly set us up for how important stage points are to some guys versus others. And so points coming into this race. In fact, I'm going to actually break this down for you all the way to the cut line positions. And so here we go. Back this up a little bit more before I go to it. So coming into tonight, the guys that are looking good, David Traylor, he's good to go. He was leading in points coming in, so even missing tonight, no worries there. Joe Yates locked in with the win, as is Mark Beverly. Kevin Winker not locked in, but he sits fourth in points, and again, looking pretty good, all things considered right now. I don't know if even if he got a last place finish at this point, if it would take him out of the playoffs. So good news there for the 42 truck. And then you've got Eric Hegdahl locked in with a win. Keith Prince, Bill Hales, 6th and 7th, not locked in. They're looking for just a solid run here tonight. Jay Stinson, he's locked in with a win. Remember, got the job done at Kentucky. Jesse Calloway, Clinton Woodby, Jesse Wise, Robert Dudley, Michael Newman, Haas Beverly, John Shileno, and Colton Hardy. All the guys who do not have a win, 9th through 16th, but currently above that cut line. And speaking of above that cut line, in general, right around that cut line, you've got Dennis Steele currently sitting just below it. And then Nick Lawrence potentially in the mix, as is Brody Benty. And talked about Jonathan Herbert, and he's having a good run tonight. And the big thing that you've got to consider with all this is this whole picture gets thrown upside down pretty much if one of the guys who is outside of that cut line right now gets a win here tonight, and of course gets themselves locked in. So it's going to get really, really interesting for anybody that's sitting close to the cut line. I think if you're top 10 in points, you're probably pretty safe. But anybody back beyond that, it's not over till it's over. And we know how chaotic Daytona can be. Can certainly see a fun one here at the finish tonight. Looks like Messy Bun Mama says, let's go, Jeremy Tolley. Tower Operator says, Winker Nation. Sean Rita says, go Winker. Good to see everybody in the chat. Isaac Smallwood, hope you're having a good night. 2x2 into turn number 3. But how about this? Jay Stinson now going to take a look with the lead for the first time here tonight. Stinson had been doing a lot of pushing there for a while, but I think what happened was Winker jumped down. Oh, that's a lot of push. Oh, my goodness. Jonathan Herbert. Wow, that was really, really close. I looked and saw him starting to push on the back bumper right there. Oh, man, this is not going to work well. Herbert and Miller cannot get this thing sorted out. They need to in a hurry, or this is going to end in disaster. You saw there the 77 and the 88 were getting offset, and the 88 looked like he gave him a shot in the corner, and that is a big no-no, especially if you're offset. But just with the amount of bumps here, it's kind of a no-no in general. Man, that was a really, really big moment. A good save, though, early on. Again, everybody just a little more give than take right now, as we're still in the early stages. But as we get closer to the end of stage 1 right here, that's where things start to change around a little bit to see how it pans out. Keith Prince, by the way, who I mentioned with where he was standing, said needed a solid run. Wonder if maybe he just needed a start, or if he's having a technical issue, because he did not make it out onto the track. So not sure what the issue was, or excuse me, I guess I should say he is no longer out on the track, as he is being scored out of this race for the current moment. And just about everybody is up with the leaders, but you saw there as we switch camera view, we do have one guy that is not, and that is Andrew Hansley. Robert Dudley as well, actually, to make it 2. Andrew Hansley actually is tagged onto the back of the pack, so I apologize. That was Robert Dudley who caught my eye in the 49 truck. He's had a good season up to this point. Maybe things not quite going exactly how he had planned all the way through, but nonetheless, he's got himself above the cut line right now. But still, again, somebody who needs a decent finish here tonight to not have to worry about any risks involved. And, you know, we can only do so much up here in the booth, but I can promise you that these guys down on the track, even while they're racing, are doing all the math in their head about what points they need to finish where, what they need to do to make sure they get locked in, when they're locked in, if they're not locked in, not locked in. They have a bunch of different ways of doing it. And if you're Robert Dudley here, all you need is a caution. Problem is, the leaders are coming up, and they're coming up in a hurry here. This is going to get a little dicey. Could be the first time we see 3 wide here tonight, depending on if Dudley chooses to go low or if he decides to stay high right here. Working down the Daytona super stretch. They're going to catch him in the turn here. This is going to get really, really narrow, really quick. St. Winker is going to lead him to the bottom, leads Miller to the bottom. Everybody else has to scatter some contact. Hold your breath. They're all still trying to miss him. So far, so good. And it looks like they're all going to get around. Ooh, Dudley actually clipped the wall there. off of turn 4, but everybody else did indeed figure it out, as Kevin Winker through the trioval takes now 25 laps complete for stage number 1. And so as Winker continues to lead, it is Jay Stinson on the bottom in the 98. Going to see what he can do. We are going to take our first side-by-side break tonight. You won't miss a thing. We will be right back for the final handful of laps here in stage 1. Stick with us at Daytona. Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway for the winning bid 225 regular season finale for the Asphalt Outlaws Truck Series, and only going to be 5 laps to go. Actually, currently 5, so going to be 4 laps to go here in stage 1 when they cross the stripe this time, and still side by side, but we have had a couple lead changes, and that has swapped a couple guys around. How about this? Jonathan Herbert from down a couple spots off the start to now up 3 positions from the start. He, for a minute there, took a peek at the lead. Got a little bit loose there with a push from Jay Stinson. They fade back about a row and a half. And it's Kevin Winker who will surge back out in front. And I'm really wondering if, at a certain point here, this 42 truck will think about dropping down to the bottom, or if he's content to stay up top the rest of the way through. We know that down the straightaways, the momentum is on the outside, but I think if that inside is able to get locked up and push, they should be able to hold even and maybe even outdo that outside line, as, of course, they're taking the shorter way around through the corner. But I think everybody's just setting themselves up, saving some temps, making sure that you've got everything you need for that final lap here in stage 1, because that's where push will come to shove, and maybe we'll even see a third line potentially develop for the first time here tonight. And you know, when we go to normal Daytona or Talladega, you usually will see guys kind of trying to control the lanes a little bit, keep both lanes cool, but, you know, here at Legacy, there's not quite as much pushing as what we see at regular Talladega or Daytona, so hasn't been much of an issue with guys needing air, at least not as often. So if you're the leader, you've got kind of that chance to stay in whatever lane you think is better longer instead of constantly having to worry about jumping up and down, top to bottom, to switch and figure out which lane is best. 42 of Kevin Winker still up top with another push here from Michael Miller. Jonathan Herbert, Jay Stinson on the bottom. Bill Hales back in third. Now, by the way, we always, you know, kind of talk about teammates and guys that could potentially be working together, and Kevin Winker doesn't have any teammates, I don't believe, at least for the Asphalt Outlaw Racing Truck Series. We go back a couple spots to a guy like Bill Hales. He is on the Asphalt Outlaws Racing team. Jesse Wise on Loose Lug Nuts. Eric Hegdahl on Mo Power. No teammates in the field for him here tonight. And even though that's the case, here we go. First man that's looking 3 wide. In the middle, too. Harder way to do it, but he's looking to make some progress. Looks like the 97 is Colton Hardy. I thought it was Hegdahl for a minute, but nope, it's the 97 of Colton Hardy in the middle. We talked about where Hardy was in terms of the point standings. One of those guys sitting right around the bubble is the 97. Gets off track. Colton Hardy, hold on to it. And he does just that. He'll merge his way back on track, but unfortunately, he is going to lose all sorts of positions. And in fact, looks like he's going to even lose the draft here as well. That's a really tough break for Colton Hardy. Looked like he got something going, but man, 2 trucks wide is pretty tight here. 3 is really, really tight and just didn't quite work out there. Here we go. White flag in the air for stage number 1. 42 of Kevin Winker still leading the top. Jonathan Herbert on the bottom. That inside really needs to get rolling right here. And honestly, if you're Herbert, if you somehow find a way to get clear, I wonder if you think about jumping up here and just hope that you don't get split, or do you stay committed to the bottom? We're getting ready to find out. Here we go, down the Daytona Super Stretch. Stinson took a peek to the middle quickly, though, just looking for air, as now he'll duck back in behind the 88. Another big push. The middle starts to surge again as Michael Newman looks to be the odd man who got shuffled out in this one. Side by side now, starting to beat and bang a little bit door to door as Michael Miller is going to get washed up the track. Comes back down. Now Winker looks up. More block as the 42 goes to the middle. Can they all hold it straight? Now Winker gets split. It's a drag race all the way to the line. The 88 of Jonathan Herbert gets the stage win. Holy moly, what a race. And this was just for the stage. Jonathan Herbert gets his first stage win of the season. Well, I'll tell you what, he made sure that he hung around close to that playoff picture. And I think he did so for this reason right here, so that when it came down to a track that he felt confident at, he could go all out for it. And you see, it's all smiles right now, as it should be. Nicely done, Jonathan. Michael Miller brings home second in the stage, and it's Jay Stinson rounding out the podium. We got to go back and break this one down a little bit, though, because, boy, this got exciting all the way from just about the start of turn 3 to the green-white checkered. So there was a lot of blocking, a lot of guys trying different things here. We're going to go actually to the blimp cam where we go, it's a little high up. We're going to go to the chopper view instead and watch this thing develop here. It's going to start with the 2 of Jeremy Tolley and the 11 of Hegdahl getting Michael Newman out of line. Winker jumps to the bottom. The 88 washes up a little bit, and now he's trying to push Kevin Winker. And actually, I wonder if he pushes him up or if Winker decides to go up. The point is, once Winker gets to the middle, he tries to go up to block. Miller says no thank you, splits him. Winker loses his help, gets a little bit of assistance from Hegdahl right there at the end. The problem was there's just too little too late, and at this point it was who had the better push, who had the better run, who had more momentum all in all, and you could see that it was that inside line. Jonathan Herbert, not by much, but by all he needed here. Play that slow for you one more time. Gets it by probably about a quarter of a truck length. Point being, not much. Great finish. I thought for sure they were getting ready to pile it up there. You saw a couple of them going through the grass, but they all saved it. They all held on. Just like that, stage 1 is complete here at Daytona. Well, normally this would be the point where we would go and take a commercial break, but since we had one a little bit earlier, instead of doing that, now what we will go ahead and do is pull up your stage 1 winner, Jonathan Herbert, and see how he's feeling so far. Hey, Jonathan, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, brother, you hear me?
Yes, sir. Well, I'll tell you what, you get the stage 1 win. Truck's looking fast early. You had to make some aggressive moves there, though, at the end of the stage. It paid off. Break us down a little bit of what was going through your mindset and how you decided to make those moves and how you were able to time it so perfectly.
Well, we really wanted to get this Ridge Power Sports rig up front, show it off a little bit this Daytona. Really want to keep it clean and stay in it for the long run. As the King says, you got to finish the race to win the race. So that's what we're doing. And Kevin's really helping us out up here. So I got a teammate on board with me. So good all around.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say, I mean, you talk about surviving to the end of the race, kind of a have to here tonight, right? Because, you know, we look at the playoff picture coming in right now, sitting a bit below the cut line, a little bit of work to do there, but a win races at all. So if you've got the opportunity here at the end of the night, do you have to go for the win over everything? Or do you feel like you're in a position here, if you get a good finish, it might be enough?
Honestly, I've been in win mode for the last 3 races. That's been my mentality, is win and I'm in. So I want it. I want to be in it. I don't know if there's a chance mathematically at this point, but I'm racing to win. I want to put this KR gutter machine up front for the first time this season, actually for 2 seasons. So
sounds good. Well, we appreciate you giving us some quick words. Hey, again, congrats on the Stage 1 victory, and we'll see if we're talking to you again here in Victory Lane later tonight.
Appreciate it, man. We appreciate all you do for us.
Thank you. All right. And that's going to move Jonathan Herbert back down to his team. And so there you go. By the way, he said team, and him and Kevin Winker, I don't believe, are normally teammates, but they certainly linked up and worked together here tonight. And so that's, again, not necessarily anything too added characteristic, if you will. I mean, you know, it's Daytona. You got to have some friends to have a chance, and your best friends are wherever you can find them if you don't have any teammates. Meanwhile, now, as we go back up front, it is Joe Yakes being scored as your leader. And in second is Jesse Calloway. And the number 4, Liquid Death, Chevy Silverado. Just behind him, Michael Miller in third, Jay Stinson fourth. Jonathan Herbert back in fifth with Bill Hales in sixth. Eric Hegdahl seventh, and Dennis Steele in eighth. Jeremy Tully ninth. Kevin Winker rounding out your top 10. So when we go back green here, it looks like the lights are indeed going to go off this time. That'll be 29 of 90 laps complete, which gives us 32 laps to go in the rest of this race. And so that means that these guys are, or excuse me, if I said 32, I apologize. I meant to say that gives us 62 laps to go in this race. So if anybody's close on fuel, that's going to be why right there in terms of that window we said is right around 30 to 32. So that'll be really borderline one stop. I think if you sit back in this pack, you don't worry about pushing right now and you save some fuel, you can make it work. But anybody that decides to be aggressive or tries to stay at the front here for majority of this run, don't know if you're going to be able to quite make it. Well, if you're just tuning in here tonight, we certainly appreciate you being here. You are watching the Winning Bid 225 for the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Truck Series regular season finale on Ghost Racing Network. By the way, a couple things that we noted at the start of the race, but in case you missed it, winner of tonight's race gets a free paint scheme from Sonic Graphic Design, and then the top 5 will all be eligible for the Winning Bid Diecast giveaway. So we said, along with going for a chance to potentially lock your name in to the playoffs, lock your spot up, if you will, also a chance for some extra bonuses. So, you know, I think if I'm a driver out there tonight that's anywhere but, you know, 17th or 18th in points, those spots that are just below the cut line, you just got to go for it. I just don't think there's really much gain or benefit, if you will, in playing it safe. You know, Jonathan Herbert said that he's been in win mode for the last 3 weeks. I think that's the way you got to be. Eventually, aggression pays off as long as you're smart about it. And Daytona is a track where the aggression either pays off or gets you into some trouble. But it seems like for the most part, it pays off with that high aggression level. So, see if it pays off for Herbert here tonight. Here we go. Final stage is underway at Daytona. It's a good start for the inside. Outside, not so much. Jesse Calloway got caught sleeping ever so slightly, and then his help from behind didn't get a very great start either. So as they get up to speed, it is that bottom with a big surge of momentum now. You see Jonathan Herbert and Michael Miller pushing as hard as they can to try to get clear of this outside before they get to the exit of 2. Not quite going to happen, and now it'll be the 4. It starts to surge with the momentum here. Side by side down the Daytona Super Stretch, Joe Yakes still leading on the inside. He was able to lead him off of 2, and he's going to lead him into 3 as well. This will be to complete lap number 30 right here as we take a panned out view of the tribal. Oh, wrecking big. Huge incident here further back with Kevin Winker and a couple others. No caution. Wow. No caution for this. Man, there's multiple trucks that are damaged from this. I can't believe there's not a caution. And so as everybody tries to get grouped back up and trying to figure out what in the world just happened, we've got trucks scattered all over the place here that are trying to get back up to speed. Trucks that are damaged. Some of them went in and used their fast pair. Other ones did not. Oh my goodness. Disaster strikes here on lap 30. How does this one get started here? Let's go back and watch this. Starts right up around Jesse Wise. I want to go, I'm trying to find, we're going to go to the chopper view first. Ooh, somebody gets turned. And I think that's the 42 of Kevin Winker actually here. Watch as they come off. This is turn number 4 that they're exiting here. And see, Winker's drifting up a little bit. Drifts up a little more. But then Hegdahl actually starts coming down. I wonder if that's just two guys that are kind of fighting for the same piece of real estate in a sense. But again, you saw Winker move up like he was wanting to go to the middle here. And then, I mean, Winker's there and Hegdahl certainly comes down a bit. And as Hegdahl comes down, that's when the contact ensues. And it's going to turn Kevin Winker here pretty much dead on to this outside wall, almost. He clips Jay Stinson on the way by. And then Stinson is collected by Brody Benty. You saw Kevin Winker got tagged. Gets tagged a couple more times there as Bill Hales runs into him with absolutely nowhere to go. So I'll give you one more view of this. Again, I'm still in shock that this did not bring out the caution. I mean, it's collected a lot of good trucks here, and certainly hate to see that all of them now are going to have to bank on the fact that they get a caution to even have a chance at this race. We'll have to see how that pans out as we do go back up front where it is Joe Yates leading. But what was a pack of about 23 trucks is now down to a pack of just 6 trucks. And the closest guys after that are about 6 seconds back. And that is Haas Beverly in the 22. And I think him, the other two he's working with, 69 there of Jesse Wise, the 21 of Lance Thompson, even the 24 there of Rick LePage are all just hoping that we get a caution at any point here, because if not, boy, there's a lot of guys that just had their race basically ruined. As look how spread out it is. Looks like we're at a track. Oh, 2 wrecking up front. Now this one, Wilbur got a caution. Huge hit for Jonathan Herbert into the outside wall. As the 88 comes to a slow rest on the apron. He's going to try to get it back rolling here. It looks like he's able to, but that truck is destroyed. So that'll be his one and only fast pair of the night gone after this one. I think the question now is, can he make it back to the pits? I think he can. I think he'll be okay. Man, good break for some guys. Bad break for all of the leaders there, strictly for the fact that, you know, they had a chance to kind of walk away with this to a slight degree because they were all by themselves with just 6 trucks, and instead they're going to end up basically throwing it away here. Let's back see how this one gets started. Is it some contact between Yakes and Callaway? Or is there something that we're missing here? Watch from the chopper view. You're going to see the 88 of Jonathan Herbert. He gets... Ooh. Well, that would certainly explain what happens here, as it was just the 88 trying to tuck in line behind the 87 of Joe Yakes, and he just misjudges it. I mean, he's just about clear behind, but not quite, and as a result, when he does so, he hooks the 87 to the right, which gets him into the 77 of Michael Miller, and turns around the 28 as well. 28 was doing a phenomenal job, by the way. That was Dennis Steele, who, another guy we talked about, hanging right around that cutoff line. And then, boom, that's a big hit there for Herbert and Jeremy Tolley. It's one that I think really kind of did all the damage to the trucks that received any damage. Another look here from TV1. Then I want to give you one more view here from TV3. And again, it doesn't take much, and in this case, the 88, it wasn't quite clear, but not going to be able to slip across the bumper of the car in front of you when you hook them. It's just going to send them into the fence, so tough break all in all here. Is actually, I said one more look, but I do want to see a cockpit view here. This is for Jonathan Herbert. Yikes. Just a little bit of a mistake there. You knew it was going to happen to somebody at some point, and tough break that it happened to Herbert, who'd been having such a good night up to this point, but still has time to recover, and again, still has that fast spare, which it looks like he has used, and got back out on track, so he should be good to go. Certainly not out of this one yet by any means. Meanwhile, back up front, you got Lance Thompson being scored as your leader, Jesse Calloway second, Eric Hegdahl third, Evan Schilling in fourth, and Haas Beverly rounding out your top five as he wins the race off pit road between him and Jesse Wise. All right, well, we are going to take another quick side-by-side break, and we will again be right back for the restart here. Stick with us at Daytona. All right, here we go. Getting ready for another restart at Daytona after cleaning up what was your first caution due to incident here tonight. The other two, of course, were, well, I guess I should say the other one was for the stage break. Green flag is back in the air. 37 laps complete at Daytona. That means we still have 54 to go. 21, Lance Thompson gets a pretty good restart on the inside, but on the outside, how about Jesse Calloway? He was looking for his way towards the front during that last run. Now that he's got that track position, question becomes, what can he do with it? How long can he hold on to it? Down the backstretch, everybody's still getting up to speed. In fact, speaking of speed, we haven't actually looked what the dashboard speeds were here today, but I have a good idea that they're probably not quite as what we're used to seeing on regular Daytona or Talladega. As again, track's bumpy. When it's bumpy, that means there's a little bit less pushing. Less pushing there is slower the speeds are going to be. Nonetheless, though, still almost 180 miles an hour through the corner as they work their way down the front stretch through the tri-oval and then ultimately towards turn 1. They're going to get right around mid 180s, depending on who you've got pushing behind you and how hard they are pushing. Jesse Calloway getting pushed very nicely right now from the 18 of Evan Schilling. This is Evan's first time up here in the top 3 tonight. He's up 9 positions from where he started, and I feel like, oh, we got one off. Hold on here just a moment. Looks like a save for the 24 of Dennis Steele. Again, not sure what happened. Oh, trouble somewhere. Oh, man, we've got... No, Dennis Steele is... Or excuse me, that wasn't Dennis Steele. I said the 28. I meant to say the 24. That's Rick LePage. As he is trying to get that truck back under control there. Boy, he got all out of sorts, and it seemed like he just could not collect himself once he started to. Here's another look at it. Watch 24. He's on the bottom of the racetrack. Ooh, Hansa got up in the wall. He was having some internet issues, and then... Yeah, I don't really know. I mean, it almost looks like he was bailing out, but then... going in the grass here is certainly not indicative of somebody who's just simply bailing out of the pack. And he goes to it. You saw there a couple different times before he's going to merge back up. And actually doesn't even do that. Stays low. So this is going to really hurt Rick LePage and cost him even more time. As meanwhile, back up front, 2x2 for the lead. 39 laps complete. Going to be 40 when we cross the stripe this time. Not even halfway through this race just yet. We've already seen as much action as we have. Ooh, Robert Dudley. Oh, that's not going to work. Big wreck. Turn 3, multiple trucks in the wall. Now make it 5 of them. 6, 7 as Yates and Benty will also get collected. And another big hit after the initial contact for Jesse Wise. And they're all going to try to get back going. But, man, that is another... big wreck here tonight. Just a couple laps after we went back green after cleaning up that first one. And when you see 2 big wrecks in a row in a race that only has one fast pair, you start to ask yourself, all right, who already used their fast pair that was involved in this one? And I mean, this was just, to a degree, this was just not going to work. It's just too tight at a track like Daytona to be doing this at Legacy Daytona to be doing this too long. And, they made it work for a little bit here down the backstretch. 3 wide, Robert Dudley in the middle, he's holding his own. But then watch as they get into the turn right here. And notice just a little bit of bobbing and weaving. Doesn't take much. In fact, I was trying to see, did he get any help? I didn't think he did. Robert Dudley, I'm saying. And yeah, you can see there, nobody's touching him. He's just up the track a little bit, trying to hold it down with all those bumps and gets slightly into the back of the 69 once and then drifts up again. He's going to get into him a second time here. And that'll be the one that really ultimately does it, as that is a huge hit for the 42 of Kevin Winker. You saw that truck climb the wall. And then, man, another big hit for Jeremy Tolley, who, by the way, that may have been the first driver that I noticed in that wreck, who I can say definitely used their fast spare in the wreck before, so. Man, that's a hard hit. Saw Colton Hardy get involved again with nowhere he could go. That's going to certainly hurt his efforts. As we'll go give you 2 more views of this. First one is from TV3. And, I mean, it just seems like when they start wrecking, it's so hard for them to stop wrecking. It's easy to say, just get on the brakes, but sometimes you get on the brakes, you slow down, you pick a lane, and they slide right into the lane you're in. So a lot of times as a driver, if you see a gap, you shoot through it. The reason I bring all that up is just simply to say that whatever gaps there were this time, not really anybody just about was able to shoot through this one. It was certainly the biggest wreck we've had so far here on the night. We'll get an onboard view of it. And that is, I believe, from Kevin Winker, based off the contact we see. And nope, it's going to be Jesse Wise, the 69, who had also backed into the wall. All right, so let's go back live. A handful of trucks or so sitting in the pits, just trying to work on whatever repairs they can, get the truck back out here. Of course, again, can't forget that you have that one fast spare, but if you don't have to use it, and you feel like you can get your truck fixed up just by waiting, certainly the better route to go, at least at this point, with us, again, not even being halfway through the winning bid 225 just yet. And we have had but 3 cautions so far. And I wonder how many we're going to have. I think if I had to do an over or under, I would definitely say over at this point, but By how many is certainly an interesting question. Just depends on how clean everybody's willing to stay. See if the lights go off on the pace car this time. That would indicate again the 1 to go signal, and we go back green with the 43 of 90 laps complete. So at that point we would be just simply 2 laps away from halfway. As 21 of Lance Thompson, this will be his first restart. He leads back to green here tonight. Jesse Calloway still in second, Evan Schilling in third, and then Eric Hegdahl, or excuse me, looks like, yeah, Eric Hegdahl in fourth, and Haas Beverly rounding out your top 5. All right, so now the strategy, it's shuffled around a little bit in terms of, we know that guys can make it about 30 to 32 laps. Want to take the fuel if you just save a pretty normal amount. And so with that, and again, that'll get you probably maybe around lap 70, 74. This should officially be a one-stopper from here. I just don't really see how anybody could make it 2 at this point. The scoring pylon on the left there, you already see, looks like 2 trucks out of this race. One of them was Keith Prince due to a technical issue, and now one of them is Jeremy Osborne. Or excuse me, apologized. I'm not sure why I said Jeremy Osborne. Nonetheless, it was, going back here, I got that mixed up. Give me just a moment. Go back here, Keith Prince, sorry, Jeremy Tolley. Not sure why I got that mixed up for just a moment. And speaking of Tolley, who was in that last wreck, that should kind of make sense then why he's no longer on the track, because we said that he didn't have that other fast spare, and confirms it right there as his race will come to an end way earlier than he would have anticipated. All right, so it's going to be Jesse Calloway, Lance Thompson in row number 1, followed by the 11 of Eric Hegdahl and the 18 of Evan Schilling in row 2. And then you've got Michael Miller and Haas Beverly in row number 3. Boy, Haas Beverly has been on, normally we'd say a hot streak, but I almost want to say a cold streak lately, just with the amount of bad luck that he's had. Been taken out in probably at least 2 to 3 of the last 5 races. And so I'm thinking he's gotten fed up with a lot of these guys, and right now he's saying, you know what, whoever's going to the front, I'll go. As soon as you get there, leave me the heck out of it. Here we go. 43 laps complete. Green flag is back in the air at Daytona. Good restart for the inside. Good organization as well for the top 3 trucks there. You see Hegdahl quickly glued to the back bumper of Bill Hale, or excuse me, of Lance Thompson. Bill Hales is that 4th car line who's doing an excellent job as well. But the 4 up top still with another good push here from Evan Schilling. And again, it's interesting that this outside really actually doesn't have to push when they're drag racing with that inside line, and they're still able to make better time. Be curious to see how that works in terms of the real life here, but so we talked about points. Now, I want to talk briefly about what the upcoming schedule is looking like for the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Truck Series. Talked about tonight being the regular season finale. Well, how about the playoff season opener? And that will be at Las Vegas Motor Speedway on May 10th. Richmond Raceway follows that up, the short track, and then we head to the big bad and fast Michigan International Speedway. That's going to be another really fun one. The round of 10 takes place at Charlotte, followed by Bristol and then Talladega. And then the Championship 5, again, not 4, but the Championship 5 will battle it out to get the crown at Kansas Speedway, which is going to be 155 laps. That'll be another fun one. But next week with Charlotte, certainly going to be the longest race these guys have ran in a little while. Or excuse me, not Charlotte. Say Las Vegas here. I think it's that. Yep, let's say next week with being Las Vegas, that's going to be one of those mile and a halves that's more uniform to what we see, and we see kind of the stint of those tracks being ran at the beginning of the season, but they've been taking a lot of them out for the middle and late portions. But here in the sim, Asphalt Outlaws Racing says we like it, we're bringing it back. And what makes Vegas an interesting track, similar to Daytona, is that there's bumps. You can go full throttle, but you're going to scrub tire, and when it gets loose, it can be really, really tough to deal with. So certainly still getting good practice here tonight as Jesse Calloway continues to lead here at Daytona. On his outside, Evan Schilling trying to fight back though. And Schilling, I said to his outside, I guess I should say just behind the 4 of Jesse Calloway. There's the 22 of Haas Beverly with the 77 of Michael Miller on his inside. And based off the way that restart went, I thought we were going to see a lot more people that would take the risks of trying to jump in between gaps and whatnot just to see what they can make work, but not been the case so far. As we now have 46 90 laps complete, and that puts us officially just over the halfway mark. All right, we are going to take another break, but we will go side by side so you don't miss a thing. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Daytona. Welcome back to the Winning Bid 225, where we have had ourselves another incident. Caution is back out. You saw, well, at least some of it while we were over break there. We caught kind of the tail end. You saw, like Evan Schilling, couldn't tell if he was the first one to go around or the second one, but the point was, we saw these guys get wadded up over in turn number 1 and 2, and now it's going to change up the strategy a little bit more. Before we get to that, let's go back and break down what happens here. As you see, the 4 there of Callaway goes down. Thompson he's washing up big time. I don't know if you remember, but at the beginning of the broadcast, we mentioned that when, these trucks, if the splitter hits one of those bumps, could certainly wash you up the track. Now, I'm not sure if that's exactly what happened there to Lance, but it's just a really, really interesting, kind of unique look. If there was another issue, I really don't know what it could be here. Watch this again here from the cockpit view. Obviously we know he's washing up. We're just trying to figure out what it was that caused the wash up to be so big. You could see that truck's just taking off on him. You know, it's just, watch the wheel input here. It's about the same. He does not turn this wheel really to the right at all. In fact, he turns it a little bit more left, and he hits that bump there and just starts to move him up the track. Now, in fairness here, that wasn't the only thing going on here. You wonder, did he get a little bit of help from behind? Or no, there's no help from behind here. Hegdahl is plenty far back. In fact, does the 18 of Evan Schilling come down at all? I don't really think he does. Watch 18 there. Not, well, maybe a little, not really. No, he's still pretty much in the same natural line that the rest of the line had been running in. So just Lance Thompson washing up a little bit. It's a mistake that's, you know, kind of prone to a track like this. Nothing anybody did wrong or egregious, just a really, really unfortunate break for Evan Schilling, especially, who I talked about had been doing a really great job here. He found something, figured it out, and been up front controlling with a lot of the other leaders here for quite some time. Not anymore now, of course. He's got this damage, but there's another view of it. So when Schilling goes around, it's the mad dash to try to miss it. And boy, Michael Miller, Bill Hales get really lucky to not absolutely clobber him. And then you saw that he still did get tagged, and then everybody else is able to get around. In fact, looking back a little bit here, we'll go to a different angle here, TV3. Watch here. Who does he get tagged by? I saw, again, Bill Hales was able to sneak by pretty much on the inside. I think he actually got a little bit of damage there to the right side. Michael Miller has to hit the outside wall to miss it. Haas Beverly, that's who it was, tags him with a pretty good shot in the right front. Doesn't seem like it does a ton of damage. And again, everybody else, for the most part, are able to miss this. Joe Yakes gets his bumper tagged, and John Shileno didn't see that. Oh, yikes. Some more contact towards the back end of this wreck here, especially for Andrew Hansley, who came kind of barreling in there. The end just couldn't get it wound up in time, I guess. Watch here as they all do a Houdini act to miss him, and then John Shileno checking up. He gets tagged, and man, Hansley looked like maybe he never even got the memo really that they were wrecking on the inside, or on the low side rather, because he committed there. And let's see this here from his view. So you see him wrecking at this point, and if you're Andrew Hansley at this point, you're checking up. Oh, he just picked the wrong lane. That's a really, really tough break. You saw him checking up, but it was when he ended up deciding to commit to the low lane. That's when the mistake was made, and that's when it unfortunately cost him. But here we go, back live, the one to go signal, and it is Jesse Calloway being scored as your leader, Kevin Winker second, Dennis Steele third, Joe Yakes in fourth, and Jesse Wise running out your top five, as we had a brief little internet hiccup right there. And so just before we get ready to go back green, let's see how Jesse Calloway's feeling here. He's doing a heck of a job tonight. Hey, Jesse Calloway, this is all set from the booth. Got a copy?
Yeah, I got some, man.
Well, doing a good job right now. You're leading the field back to green at Daytona. Just briefly, though, before we get back going, how you feeling right now?
I feel pretty good. We got a good strategy going on. Me and Joe Yakes, he's caught back up with me, so hopefully we can get back together and stay up here. It's been fun.
You've been fun to watch so far. We'll keep an eye and see if you can maybe capture that first elusive win of the season here tonight, potentially at the World Center Racing.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, man.
There you go, and we'll put him back down. You heard him talk about Joe Yakes' teammate, one of the Loose Lug Nuts teammates, and then, of course, the other one being the other Jesse Wise. So here we go. 52 laps complete, getting ready to go back racing as the green flag flies. And Jesse Calloway off to the races. He gets a good jump as Winker a bit off to a slow start there. In fact, this kind of bottlenecks the outside to the point where the 28 is going to get clear, but it looks like Jesse Calloway was making sure there that Dennis Steele would not have an option to try to jump up if he wanted to. Dennis, though, still with an opportunity here. He's clear for the moment. The outside, though, there is no momentum yet. They're still trying to get it charged up here. Down the super stretch. This is where, on that first lap, you can make the most moves as the lanes are still kind of swapping momentum. Usually, whichever lane is further back gets the better run, but in this case, it's the inside that's still able to hold on as Joe Yakes trying to work with Kevin Winker for now, but you heard Jesse Calloway say that Joe Yakes has gotten back up here, and so watch for those two to maybe try to get coordinated bumper to bumper, and they might try to stick together and play it safe here for some time. Crossing the line, that's now 55 laps complete, so or 54 rather. I know I talked about that changed up the strategy ever so slightly. So what it did here is, again, we know that these guys can make about 30 to 31 laps on fuel, so it's still a one-stopper. They're still not able to make it the whole way, as we've still got, 35 to go when they cross the stripe. Next time actually be 36. Point being that what it does, though, is it opens up that window a lot sooner and gives you some strategy play options in terms of, do you try to short pit it with maybe 2 or 3 teammates? Do you try to run it out all the way? Do you split it down the middle? And all those different choices are what these guys are going to have to decide on. Potentially make their final green flag stop. And of course, that's just making the decision of how you want to do it. Executing it is a whole other beast to tame in of itself. And the fact that if you mess up at all, again, with how important the draft is here, if you lose that draft, your race is over without a caution. So 3 keys to a successful pit road cycle here, I think, is going to be making sure you come down with at least 2 other trucks, making sure that you get the entry clean, no speeding, get into your box without sliding through, and then getting linked up as quick as possible when you get off. And the apron here, a little tricky. It's not like Talladega where it's pretty much the same banking as the actual track. It is banked ever so slightly. In fact, you can probably see it from the onboard view here, yeah. But not nearly as much. In fact, actually, no, it's pretty much completely flat in comparison to the over 30 degrees of banking that these trucks climb each and every corner here at Daytona. So you got to be a little careful when you get back up to speed, and tough thing to balance. But man, we saw a lot of fishtailing there up front. A couple of close calls for a couple different guys. Nobody went around though. Everybody was still able to keep it together. Now again, we've had a couple big ones so far here tonight, and even with that, still only 2 trucks out of the race. Everybody else is within 2 seconds of the leader for now. And the man who is the furthest back, Andrew Hansley, even with that hard hit he took, I'm surprised, but he is still holding pace to stay in this lead draft. Was able to go in and get that front end damage fixed, and here he is. The 28 though, how about first time here in this spot for Dennis Steele tonight? He's up 17 positions overall where he started this race, pushing the 4 of Jesse Calloway. And this is interesting, seeing some of these guys get single file right here, because we know that kind of that general indication of guys taking a pit stops is when they get single file. However, I don't think that they're going to be pitting here anytime within probably the next at least 3 laps. I think, well, obviously I know they won't, because they've got to wait till that fuel window opens, which is going to be, or isn't going to be until another 3 laps or so. By the way, next place that we head on Ghost Racing Network is going to be on Monday night over to the Fast Track Sim Racing Cup Series. Bryce, channel owner, will be covering that one, so make sure you go check out that race with him on the call. And then just after this race, I'm going to head over to PGR Esports. We're going to cover some Friday night money racing action from the high banks of Talladega. Oh, man, speaking of action, what another close call there off of turn number 4. Calloway and Winker banging doors, and man, there's been a lot of close calls, and it's just a product of, as the race continues to go on, they're going to just continue to give each other less and less room, and something's going to have to give. It already has a couple times here tonight. I don't think we've seen the last of that caution flag, at least not yet. And once we get to this lap 60 mark, in fact, I would say even right now, any caution from this point on is going to just about guarantee anybody on fuel for the rest of the way if you come in and top off. Tires are a bit of a factor here, though. And, I'm kind of wondering, going back to that Lance Thompson wreck, if he maybe had tried some strategy play to get that position in terms of not taking tires on a stop where maybe everybody else did. Not sure, again, if that was the case or not. If it was, though, that could certainly explain that truck shooting up the track as much as it did. As now we're going to see Jesse Calloway with another move as he's going to yank the wheel left. Looks to the inside here through the tri-oval. He'll get the move, and there you go. Perfectly executed for loose lug nuts. They're going to get both Calloway and Yakes down to the bottom. And that now lines them up 1-2. And the chemistry there is going to be a little bit better than the chemistry up top with Kevin Winker and Jesse Calloway, who, by the way, is the 3rd teammate for the loose lug nuts trio. And so if he can find a way to either get Winker clear, have Winker jump down, and then they can sort it out, or honestly here, if he can find a way to get him and Winker clear and jump down in front of his teammates, that would set up loose lug nuts for a very, very good position coming to that final green flag pit stop. I say final, ironically enough, it'd be our only green flag pit stop here tonight if we're able to make it that far. as they cross the stripe. There it is, 60 laps to go, or excuse me, 60 laps complete, 31 laps to go here at Daytona. If you're just tuning in, picked a good time to do it. Regular season finale for the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Truck Series. A lot of things on the line, and boy, oh boy, this could be very, very interesting here depending on how things end up. We talked about earlier in the broadcast what points were looking like. Some guys right on the cut line. Some guys plenty good to go. And so now it starts to become a battle of setting yourself up, getting to the inside here. Because again, you can make as many moves as you want now. Oh man, there you go. As Winker moves up, that's going to put loose lug nuts 1, 2, 3 on the bottom. I was just getting ready to say, man, they'd love to see Winker move up here. And Hegdahl is up in the top lane as well. But you know who's kind of went, I don't know if I want to say the word silent, we just haven't seen since a great run earlier, is Jonathan Herbert. And I wonder if part of that was, you know, being in that wreck and having to use a fast spare. He said he wanted to make sure he made it to the end of this race, and I think maybe that's part of the reason he's just keeping it conservative right now. Doesn't want to get involved again in any incidents here. Is if that truck gets destroyed or damaged at all, he does not have a guaranteed fix on it. So Jonathan Herbert continues to play it safe for the moment. Going on back to a couple of our other driver cams here tonight. We've been keeping an eye on Mark Beverly. Talked to him just briefly before the race started. Good looking paint scheme on that truck here tonight, by the way. But, you know, I said, go have some fun. He said, hopefully. And pretty much what he's saying is if he can have a good run and not get wrecked, it'll be a fun one, which so far has been the case for 13. But anything can happen. I'll tell you what, Daytona is a track where you can lead 89 laps and get wrecked on 90, and it feels like you raced for nothing. That's the frustration of super speedway racing sometimes, but in the day, that is how it goes. Mark Beverly, though, again, up 5 from where he started. Right now sitting in that 10th position. We had a chance to talk to Jesse Calloway when he was leading, and now he's taking on a little bit of a different role here as he's pushing his teammate, Jesse Wise. Jesse's up 5 positions from where he started, currently sitting in that 2nd spot. And just behind both of them is that 3rd and final loose lug nuts driver here tonight for the trio, and that is Joe Yakes. Meanwhile, we go a little bit further back in the field. Some guys who have had a couple different incidents here tonight. None of their causing. Colton Hardy. We saw him trying to work the middle earlier. Didn't work out, and he has since found himself trapped a little bit further back than he would probably like to be, but still plenty of time to try to make something happen. And then you've got Michael Newman up in the 16th position. Boy, he looks as calm, cool, and collected as somebody could be right now at a track this fast with what's closing in on going to only be 25 laps to go here in just about 3 laps. So Michael Newman, another guy that's just waiting to see if we can make it to this pit stop before he tries to get too aggressive. And then last, certainly not least, is your current leader, Kevin Winker, as he is battling the loose lug nuts trio on the inside there that's being led by Jesse Wise. I was going to say Jesse Wise and Jesse Calloway. Calloway doing the pushing. Remember back to stage 1 how clean things were. And we had a couple cautions in between, but here we are. Back to a lot more green flag racing, and as each lap goes by, the intensity continues to slowly pick up. It's just that cat and mouse game of who's going to make the first move in terms of either moving up in the field or who's going to make that first move of the dive down to the pits. I think you'll see them go in groups of teams, and I don't know if we'll see necessarily just one team pit by themselves. Usually, guys, if they see a certain group going in, they're going to find a way to try to go in themselves. But they honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if these guys ran this thing pretty much out and ran it all the way to, let's see, what would that be? Probably, they could go a good while here, at least to probably almost lap 80, if not quite close to. And then after that, you got to think pit stops will be coming up pretty soon after. Now, if we get an overtime, that could also change everything. Is the fuel mileage you're putting in the truck is the fuel mileage to make it to the end of regulation. However, if you go into overtime, something that's a lot harder to calculate for, and a lot of times that's where guys can get themselves in trouble. We start going into 2, maybe even that 3rd overtime, and people run out of fuel. So we'll see how that pans out. Kevin Winker, you see right there, slowly and steadily works down the banking there through the middle of the corner, just trying to get just a little bit of a side draft on the 69 truck. Anything he can do to help try to pull that inside line back a little bit and help the momentum of his lane, he is certainly trying right now. And looks like it's been working out pretty well so far here. As that outside's been able to hang even, actually, maybe even looks a little bit stronger for now. 42 should get another really big surge here. Ooh, Hales and Hegdahl are going to get lined up. Watch out here. This outside line is getting ready to roll. Jesse Calloway, can he hold his teammate Jesse Wise in front down the back? Looks like he is going to keep him out in front down the Daytona Super Stretch. Kevin Winker almost had enough of a run to jump down, but just could not quite do it. So he's going to be forced to stay up for now, and you can see that Hegdahl and Hales are kind of trying to regroup now and try to recalibrate this run. I think they'll be able to do it here, but you see it, 24 laps to go. We are in that kind of calm before the storm phase now, but looking back and kind of going through the rest of this pack, what we've got for now, it's double file for about the first 4 to 5 rows, and then it's single files out all the way back to the 24 Rick LePage, and then we've had a second pack that has formed up, and I think this pack may have been the first group of pit stops, and we may not have caught it. They may have done it up front here. I'm trying to look. Yep, that's exactly what it was. This is a group that already pit. In fact, this is exactly what their stop looked like. We're going to go back to show you because, again, we didn't actually catch this one live as it happened, as it was a little bit further back in this pack and just didn't quite catch it on camera frame here. But these guys have been single file, and this was why right here, because they were getting ready to make this stop, and they wanted it to be clean with no issues, and there you go. Stinson dives off, and he's going to get 3, 4, looks like 4 takers that go with him. Evan Schilling, I think I see Colton Hardy in there, Brody Benty, and I think that's Clinton Woodby as well. And so their strategy was the short pit. Now their goal is to run lap times as fast as they possibly can. We'll start keeping an eye on that gap now. All right, here we go. Jay Stinson is 41.5 seconds behind Rick LePage, who is leading that group that is just on the tail end of the leaders here. And so if you're Jay, you're telling your guys behind right now, you guys, we have got to push. It's going to be our best shot. As actually Jay cycles back there, showing you the veteran experience. He knew the guy behind him may have been getting a little hot after pushing for a while, so by cycling back, that allows this line to hopefully keep rolling. Problem is, though, they've already lost 2 tenths. Ooh, more pit stops here underway. It looks like it is going to be the Loose Lug Nuts trio here, and that is it. Nobody else goes down, but we are seeing that final cycle work its way out here. The 4 of Jesse Calloway will bring it to his box, mistake-free, and he's going to hope that his teammates here can do more of the same. And it looks like they all get in clean. And so now, the question is going to be, how does that 4-truck group merge out? Right now, you can see that they are sitting over in turn number 4. As they work their way out here, here we go. Let's see how these guys all merge together. Right now, watching for Evan Schilling, who, oh man, they're far. Wow, that second group that went, they smoked these guys. I mean, I don't even know if Stinson and them are actually going to catch up. And even that first pack there, you can see is potentially about at the point where they're going to pull a draft off the guys that have already pitted. That's significant as well, because if they're able to do that, that's going to cost that second group, or rather the first group to pit, even more time, which is not something they wanted. And here you go. There's the group that just pit, getting up to speed. Joe Yates pushing Jesse Wise. And then behind them, Evan Schilling is 3.4 seconds back. They're closing the gap up pretty good. They've got to get to about within a second and a half to get within drafting range. And so they're still closing it pretty quick. I think they're going to get there. Yeah, they're definitely going to get there. And the question is now with all these guys is, have they maybe pulled in this pack of guys that has not pit yet? And if they do so, I think that kind of foils the strategy of anybody that pit early here. Go to the cockpit view and see just how far ahead they are. Yeah, they still got some time to work with. In fact, I think they're going to be okay in the sense of I just don't think this front group has enough fuel to catch those guys before they're going to have to pit, even if they are running a bit faster. Looking off the gearbox here for Kevin Winker. How about Eric Hegdahl as he looks back and got Mark Beverly right on his bumper. 20 laps to go, going to be 19 when they cross the line this time. For anybody that's been watching all night, again, we appreciate you being here. Hope you are enjoying your Saturday night, or excuse me, your Friday night. Tomorrow we will not be broadcasting the NOMA Truck Series, by the way. I think they're going to have, they might have Richard Hurst filling in, the Super Speedway Series commentator, so make sure you check them out. See a lot of the same guys from this series racing over there tomorrow night. As single file now, that is the story for everybody up front. the 42 of Kevin Winker, followed by Eric Hegdahl in second, Mark Beverly third, Bill Hales in fourth, Haas Beverly fifth, Lance Thompson in sixth with Robert Dudley in seventh, John Shilino eighth, Michael Newman in ninth, and Rick LePage rounding out your top 10. Still no pit stops yet, but I think here probably in the next 2 to 3 laps is when we're going to see them. We're going to try to watch this from a bit more of a spread out camera view if we can. Going to TV1 here again. Watch for Kevin Winker to make that dive below the below the yellow line here off of 4. He's going to do it this time. No, he doesn't. Nobody else will either. And I almost have to believe at this point that everybody who hasn't pit is just simply waiting on the leader to pit and going to all go in at the same time as he does. And we'll go back and actually look at the second group and see what the gap's looking like, as they have gotten really racy back here. In fact, there you see 3 wide. Evan Schilling in the middle as Jesse Wise going to stink by on the bottom. Clinton Woodby still stuck on the outside. That is not helping their times, I don't think. Well, I wouldn't have thought, I guess I should say, but actually it is. They've closed up ever so slightly since we last checked. Went from 41.7, almost 42, now down to 41.4. So it's not much, but again, the point is, the big goal is just to not lose time. And then the better goal, of course, would be to gain time and potentially drop this pack before the end of the race, thin the herd, if you will. But everybody's been executing so well on the pits so far that there's just not really been much opportunity for that. 17 laps to go. Kevin Winker, the man who has led the most laps now tonight, especially with the addition of these laps being led right here. Eric Hegdahl talked about no teammates. Winker is only working with one other man here tonight, and that's Jonathan Herbert. So maybe the 11 and the 42 start making some alliances right here, start talking about how they want to potentially work together. But I just think these guys at this point are staying out as long as they can, maybe actually watching that fuel number to see if they can go all the way until it's pretty much on fumes, in the hopes to potentially catch this front, well, I say front pack. It's technically the second pack, but the point being that if they could get there, oh, never mind, knocking them out of here. We go, pit stops. It's going to have to be good ones here, as not everybody. A little shocking there, but the ones that come in, looks like everybody is able to do a really nice job. Again, that was Jonathan Herbert right there, but they were led in by Kevin Winker and Eric Hegdahl, followed by Robert Dudley. Talked about Herbert, and then the 24 of Rick LePage. He brings it down as well. Pull the track map back up and watch for the guys who have already pit. See where they're going to come out here. See that 22 red dot in the middle of turn 3 and 4? That is that second group right now being led. Or excuse me, actually that's not that second group. The second group is the number 12 position truck, Jesse Calloway, who's in the number 4 right here. And as he works his way off of 4, now you see that first group has made their way out. Man, that I saw out of 4 is Michael Miller here. Not sure what happened to him, if he had a penalty, struggles, technical difficulties, whatever it was, but he is another one of the guys who really is going to need caution now as we see some more pit stops here. Looks like it was Mark Beverly. Oh man, Thompson and John Shilino. That was a really, really close call right there. But getting back to it, it is Beverly who's going to jump down. He'll take a stop as Haas Beverly works his way into his box as well. And this stop should just be whatever you need on fuel, potentially 2 tires, but you're definitely not taking 4. In fact, I think there's a lot of guys who maybe didn't even take 2, as they just felt like there wasn't going to be enough time. Uh-oh. Mark Beverly still sitting in the pits. This is not good. I think this means, yeah, sure enough, the 13. He got a speeding ticket. Let's go back and watch it here. I thought all these guys got in okay, but Mark Beverly not so fortunate here. Let's go back and watch the 13 here. Does he just get in a little too hot, or does he have an issue here with the cone? He might have an issue with the cone here. You see at this point, oh, he's locking it up a little bit, and yeah, that's a lockup right there on the initial entry. So he was either speeding or potentially got an unsafe entry. Not sure which one it was. Point is, I guess I should say, that is a tough break, and that's going to add Mark Beverly to the list of drivers that will now need a caution to potentially have a chance at this one. Still waiting for a couple guys that have stayed out to make that final stop. Going to be 13 laps to go, and they cross the start next time. So again, should be getting pretty close to running out of fuel here in probably no more than 3-4 laps at the most. Maybe even a couple sooner than that. But up front, it is the 63, but that's a lapper. The 12 of Michael Newman is being scored as your leader right now. And then you've got the 28 of Dennis Steele, also a lapper. And then 29 of Andrew Hansley, who is also a lapper. So realistically here, what you've got is Michael Newman being the only guy that stayed out. The good news for him, though, is that he's in a draft. So he's still able to keep up with everyone, but I think here, if you're Michael, you really need a pit here if he wants a chance at winning this thing at the end. I don't think this strategy works out well if he continues to stay out, especially if this group that he's with is not running the fastest laps. That's checking on that group. Let's go back and check in on the group that is getting really, really racy right here, as Clinton Woodby and Robert Dudley almost got together right there. But so here we go. Watch for, this is Jesse Calloway. So you see that everybody blended together so far, at least of the guys that have already made their stop. Haas Beverly, John Shileno, Bill Hales, Kevin Winker. They've got a slight lead, actually. So I guess they haven't all merged just yet, but I don't think that lead's quite going to be able to hold. And as for Michael Newman here, I know he's not trying to save fuel. It's just not going to work. I think maybe he's hoping for a caution here. Just don't know that he's going to get one. He's going to need one, and if he's going to get one, it's going to have to happen here pretty soon. We are going to take one more side-by-side break, and then we'll be back all the way to the finish as long as we don't get an overtime. Stick with us at Daytona. Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway, where we are under caution with just 9 laps to go. By the way, under caution for the 5th time here tonight, and it was for an incident involving that second group. Michael Newman, you know, I don't know if the strategy, what he had in mind, but I didn't think it was going to work. Seems like maybe it may have here, depending on when he pit. Didn't get to catch if he pit before. It looks like maybe not, actually, as being scored much further back now. But let's see how this incident unfolds here, as it starts with the 49 of Robert Dudley. And boy, he was a mess here getting through 1 and 2. You see he's bumping the apron, bumps it again, and then as he keeps bumping it, these guys decide that they've got to try to make a way around. Otherwise, they feel like they're going to get involved. So before we actually see how Jay Stinson gets around here, which looks like he's just from going up the track, what happens to Dudley here? You know, to be fair, it's old tires. We talked about the bumpy surface here. He hits that bump, a little bit too much wheel in it. The truck doesn't like that, and the back end just starts to come around on him, and now he's just trying to drive out of it. And it's a good save overall. I mean, he does hold on to it. Problem was that Jay Stinson, on the other hand, not so lucky, as he was trying to dodge it. He was the man that ultimately got caught up in it and was the caution. Watch this, as you see 49 slamming the apron here. Jay sees it. He says, okay, I'm going to try to jump to the high side right here. And as he does go to do so, the 4's up there, 3 wide, just a little too tight of a squeeze. And Jay gets into the door of Jesse Calloway. That sends the 98 onto the apron as he comes up. Ooh, wow, didn't see that secondary impact. That's a hard shot there. I think that was, I saw it was Jesse Wise. I think it was Rick LePage as well, who also took a pretty good impact from that. And that is just really, really unfortunate timing for a couple of these guys here. As boom, 24. That immediately breaks the left front. And then as he gets into Jesse Wise, you see that 69 truck gets up in the air. So that'll be a fast pair for those two if they've got one. And for Jay Stinson as well. Stinson again took a pretty good brunt of this one here as well. Give you one more view of this here from the blimp cam. And Jay kind of in the same boat here trying to save it, but old tires gets on the apron, and then a lot of times what goes down must come back up here at Daytona, and it's exactly what happens right there. 98 comes to a halt as the other two were able to get unattached about halfway down the Daytona Super Stretch. And so now that sets us up for what's going to be a 7-lap sprint to the finish to end out the regular season. Eric Hegdahl being scored as your leader. Actually, Kevin Winker, I think, on the outside might be. Point is, Hegdahl and Winker making up row number 1. Bill Hales back in 3rd with John Shilino in 4th. Haas Beverly in 5th. Lance Thompson in 6th. Clinton Woodby 7th. Colton Hardy in 8th. Jesse Calloway in 9th. And Joe Yakes rounding out your top 10. All right. Well, again, talked about 7 laps. I say it's a sprint, but in reality, there's a pretty good chance we're going to see at least one more caution, if not a couple, because now the thing that we haven't seen much of all night, 3 wide, is probably going to be pretty imminent here pretty quick. Is you're going to see the desperation start to set in, especially for the guys who are right on the verge of making the cut versus guys that are going to fall just shy of making the playoffs. So 7 laps is still a pretty long ways to go here. You know, you figure 2.5 miles times 7. Again, seems like a lot of time, but you know, it's not quite as easy to go 3 wide here, and you don't want to get trapped too far back 2 by 2. So we'll see who decides to lead the charge in that 3rd lane first. All right, here we go. Pace car off of turn number 4. Going to make that left turn for potentially, but probably not the final time here tonight. 7 laps to go, and the winning bid 2:25. Green flag is back in the air. Good start for the inside, but a little bit of disorganization further back. Is actually a lot of tire spin here. Haas Beverly with trouble. I'm not sure if he missed a gear or what, but he's going to drop below the apron. Now he's going to fade back, and all of a sudden the inside has dissipated. This spells trouble for Hegdahl, but he was able to jump up, able to grab Kevin Winker, and now that leaves Bill Hales all by himself on the bottom. He's trying to hold these two off, but he's going to need some help. Clinton Woodby not far behind as they race on to the super stretch for the first time under this restart. And now that Hegdahl's got the job done, he's going to bring Kevin Winker with him. The 42 able to get clear. And that was a very well-coordinated move, and good on Hegdahl, too, by bringing the 42. Maybe made a friend there. Don't look now. Guess who on the outside? John Shilino. Looking to see if he can make a run up to the front. Talked about John Shilino. Boy, it's, you know, been maybe not the ideal season for the 33, but there's been a couple instances where he's shown the speed that he's capable of having when he brings the right mindset, the right truck to the track. And here tonight, it's showing late. What can John Shilino do? He's on the outside. He is going to need some more help. And by the way, Shilino, as it stands right now, looking at that playoff picture, he is in, but not by much. So another one of the guys that needs a decent run here tonight. And it's going to start here if he can get a good position. But here we go. The 92 now, along with the 53, Hales and Woodby. They're going to jump to the outside as they climb the over 30-degree banking into turn number 3. Still side by side. Hegdahl on the bottom. The 53 now draws even with the 42 off of turn number 4. It'll be 5 laps to go when they cross the stripe this time. Still a ways to go, but again, these guys, they've got to make it all the way to the white flag for this race to be official. Boy, you see the pushing is getting more and more dicey now. Kevin Winker feels comfortable enough where he is now pushing Eric Hegdahl through the tri-oval. And now it's helping that lane out in terms of allowing them to make a little bit more momentum. The problem is that risk versus reward. That risk starts to increase greatly the more you start pushing. Man, they are rolling up top now. 2-car tandem, 2-truck tandem, if you will, with Woodby and Hales. And it's going to be enough to hold them even, but not enough to really gain any more than that. A couple guys trying to get that third lane working. Woodby's going to duck out a little bit here, trying to cool the engine off, as everybody's going to be setting themselves up to have as much temp as possible for the final couple of laps of this race. Kevin Winker is still pushing for all he's worth on the bottom. Eric Hegdahl, you got to wonder if that 42 truck finds a way to get clear. Does he jump up, or does he stay loyal right here and work with Hegdahl to the end? Those two are not teammates, but they work together pretty good there. Hegdahl made sure that he brought Winker down with him before he jumped down. Oh, big check up on the bottom. This is stacking them up on the inside. Translating all the way back to Colton Hardy. Oh, it's not going to work. They're wrecking. 2 around, 1 around now. It's Michael Miller. Does he save it? Yes, he does. The 77 keeps it off the inside safer barrier, but he has lost the pack, and now that's caused some separation further back in the lead pack. Stinson trying to get lined back up with looks like Rick LePage. I believe that's Evan Schilling and potentially Jonathan Herbert as well in the 88. Sure enough, it is. 12 of Michael Newman acting as a bridge truck right now. Oh, the 4 of that was Jesse Calloway. Did he save it? I think he did. Oh, they're wrecking now in the trial with 2 of them around. No caution yet. It's a 53. Oh, big hit for Jay Stinson as Brody Benty slid back up the racetrack. Nothing he could do, and neither could Stinson. Caution is out, and we are headed to overtime. Jay Stinson with the left front destroyed his Rhino Linings truck, and man, that thing is going to be done for the night. He already used his fast repair, and is not going to be repairable in the span of a couple of laps. That is for sure. Well, boy, there was a couple different things that went on. We saw the incident there with Michael Miller, but then Jesse Calloway goes for a ride of his own here as he gets turned off of 4. And I mean, this is just kind of, to a degree, kind of what you expect, right? It's late in the race. Guys are making moves, and this is exactly what my question was if Winker got clear, what would he do? Would he take it? And he tried to. Boy, it was by inches. He is clear right there. He jumps up. Bill Hales, though, I think says, hey, man, if you're going to jump up at this point in the race, I'm not cutting you a break. I'm going to push you. And he tried. Winker not quite able to take it as square as maybe they were hoping. And that sends the 42 down the track. 53 as well of Bill Hales gets sent down. And he's actually the one that gets into the door here of Callaway. You see it sends Callaway for a view that you never like to have as a driver. And that's when you are pointed just about dead 45-degree angle to that inside wall, but he saves it, drives out of it, and then they start wrecking here. And boy, he was lucky, and I mean really lucky, to be able to drive away from that part of it, as Brody Benty and a couple others ended up being the ultimate wreck that brought out caution here. Back this up and show you exactly how this one gets sparked. And I wonder if it was still kind of a byproduct of what was happening with that first wreck. Something a little different right here. Watch this. As the 92 goes low, John Shileno is high. That's not where it starts. It actually starts back with Haas Beverly and Lance Thompson, as Haas Beverly's got to run. He's getting to Lance Thompson, getting ready to score him up, and Thompson goes high. And Beverly trying to check up, but I just don't think he was expecting that, fairly enough. And just slight contact to the left rear there of Lance Thompson sends Lance down to the 63 of Brody Benty, who's sliding through the grass. And you're always hoping, see how he's got the tires, you're hoping that that thing's going to roll either backwards through the grass towards the pits or just kind of go for a slide. This right here, though, is what you hope doesn't happen. Slides back up the racetrack and gives Jay Stinson and Rick LePage absolutely nowhere to go. Well, let's go back here and take a couple different views of this before we go back live real quick. First one with Haas Beverly on the onboard. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about again. Some of these moves you're kind of trying to predict, if you will, as a driver. And right here, squares him up, and then when he goes high, he checks up, but it's just that little bit of non-verbal miscommunication, if you will. That's a really, really tough break there. Haas Beverly, of course, no ill intent there, just a mistake. Things happen, but Let's hear you back this up one more time. Watch Brody Benty here as Jay Stinson get tangled up after this, and boy, it's a big shot for Jay Stinson here in the 98. There's the 63, gets turned through the grass. The 21 is able to slide pretty much in a straight slide, but there's the 63 sliding up, and man, Jay Stinson, huge hit. Show you another angle of this hit from TV2. And then the 24, the page, you saw the 88 was able to just sneak by. That was Jonathan Herbert, and then once Stinson hits him, gets up slightly in the air, the 24 throws him higher into the air as he rams into the outside wall, and broken suspension spells end of the day for Jay Stinson. All right, we go back live up front now, where it will again be overtime attempt number 1 here, as we expect the lights on the pace car to go off this time, and it is Kevin Winker being scored as your leader here at Daytona. Eric Hegdahl second, Bill Hales in third, Colton Hardy in fourth with Clinton Woodby in fifth, Robert Dudley 6th, John Shileno 7th, Haas Beverly in 8th, Joe Yakes in 9th, and Mark Beverly rounding out your top 10. And by the way, everybody that I just named has a chance to win this. I mean, that's just the way Daytona works. They call it a wild card track for a reason. If you're in the top 10, in fact, I've seen guys further back than that, top 20. I mean, there's that last lap wreck that is a frequent occurrence at these super speedways, and it only takes one big one to potentially get somebody from all the way at the back all the way to the front. But I'll tell you what, Winker's got to be feeling, he's got to be feeling the nerves right now. He's one of the more calm drivers that we see in the series, but you know, he's locked into the playoffs, but still, even with that being the case, he's got to be, or excuse me, he's not locked in the playoffs, so he's still got to be a little bit nervous here, hoping he can get that first win here tonight. Hey, Kevin, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, getting ready for overtime attempt number 1. First question I got here is, you know, you're looking good for playoffs, obviously not too worried about that, but still looking for that win. Not technically locked in yet. How anxious are you to try to get that first win here tonight?
I'm gonna go for it. I mean, I'm pretty locked in on points, so I'm gonna just give it all hell. I mean, I've been needing a win for a while now, so, and I've kind of had bad luck towards the end of these, so we'll see what happens here. You know, these plate tracks are my bread and butter. I've been pretty aggressive tonight, so hopefully we can park this thing in victory lane tonight.
Well, we've seen you and Hegdahl working together a little bit, but we saw you weren't afraid to make that move. Do you and the 11 work together again for this restart, or is it every man for himself at this point?
It's probably every man to the white flag. I'm kind of worried about Bill more than Eric, because I know Bill's pretty aggressive like me, so I'm going to have to try to keep the 53 in check, and we'll fight out here on the white flag and see what happens.
Certainly will. We appreciate you talking to us. Hey, good luck for these next 2 laps, and we'll see if we're talking to you in victory lane.
Thank you.
All right, well, there you go. Said he's nervous about Bill Hales, as he should be. We know Bill Hales can get the job done on a super speedway as well. Hegdahl looking to see if he can capture his first super speedway win of the season here tonight. Let's remind you of the rules. Overtime real quick. 2-lap shootout, green flag. If they can make it to the white flag, race will be official. However, if they don't, we'll rack them up and try it again. 3 attempts in total. Pace car pulls off. 2-lap shootout. Here we go. Green, white checker, green flag back in the air at Daytona. Good start. Ooh, not so much for the middle portion of the pack. Haas Beverly again with some issues. Almost looks like he's missing a gear, you would think. Nonetheless, though, up front, they're off to the races. 3 trucks lined up on the inside and the outside. Great organization. That's going to allow both of these lanes to roll. Question is, which lane can roll better? Outside starts to fall apart just a little bit. There's Colton Hardy in the 97. Where did he come from? As now he's lined up behind Hegdahl. Down the super stretch. Inside's really rolling now. Bill Hales, he'll get clear the outside if he decides to take it. Not quite yet. He'll get it into turn number 3, though. The 92 would be. Don't think he'll have enough of a run to do the same, although it's going to be really close here. Not going to do it. The 92 won't quite have the run yet. The 53, though, does. When does he make the move here? Oh, Winker's going to have to do some blocking. Can't make it work. Bill Hales jumps to the outside. Hegdahl gives him a shot. Here we go. Race is official. White flag in the air. 1 lap to go at Daytona. Everybody looking for their first win of the season here, at least in the front row. Bill Hales on the outside, Kevin Winker on the inside. Hales is going to drop back down to the inside, as now that'll open up the lead to Hegdahl. Kevin Winker, though, he's able to get back clear. The run is not up top yet. Oh, man, Kevin Winker is going to save this move until Eric Hegdahl has a run. Will they split him, or will they work with him? When does the 42 jump out of line? There he goes. Clinton Woodby's not going to go with him. He's going to wait for help from Eric Hegdahl. They're not going to split them, sticking with the 42. Now it's the 92 pushing the 53 on the bottom. This could come all the way down to a drag race and a photo finish. Final time off of turn number 4. Bill Hales now takes the lead. Does the 42 have anything? They're going to wreck out back. They are wrecking. It's a drag race. Who gets it? Bill Hales gets the win at Daytona in a photo finish with Kevin Winker. Steals it by 0.02 of a second. What a race and what a win for Bill Hales. Talked about the tip of the broadcast. He got one in the Noma Truck Series, and now he's got himself one in the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Truck Series. As he brings it around to celebrate, we got a couple things to show. First thing we're going to do, though, is go through the results. Talk about your winner being Bill Hales. Not by much. Official scoring, 0.02 of a second. Kevin Winker brings home second. Eric Hegdahl third. Robert Dudley in fourth. Jesse Calloway fifth. Colton Hardy in sixth. Dennis Steele seventh with Joe Yakes in eighth. Haas Beverly ninth. And Michael Newman rounding out your top 10. Andrew Hansley 11th. John Shilino in 12th. Clinton Woodby 13th. Mark Beverly in 14th. Jonathan Herbert in 15th. With Lance Thompson in 16th. Evan Schilling in 17th with Michael Miller in 18th. Rounding each top 20 tonight is Jay Stinson and Brody Benty. Rick LePage 21st, Jesse Wise 22nd, Jeremy Tolley 23rd, and Keith Prince in 24th. Celebration is on the front stretch. Burning it down is Bill Hales. He's excited about it, as he should be. Phenomenal win and a phenomenal sequence of events that unfolded in that last lap, and boy, he certainly had to work for it. He did just that, as looks like he's going to call off the celebration right there. So let's go back before we get interviews here and watch this checkered flag moment, which really occurred coming out of turn 4 for Bill Hales. So this is where all hell's going to break loose. As soon as they come off of 4, it's every man for himself. All bets are off coming into the tri-oval. And I think Woodby tries to split him right here. He does. Well, I don't know if he was trying to split him, but whether he was or wasn't, Woodby ends up in the middle, and then just a lot of beating and banging coming down to the line. And at that point, it's on from there. You see John Shilino's going to try to miss it. He gets hit, though, by Clinton Woodby, as Robert Dudley is going to get turned up into the 97 of Colton Hardy. And there you see Joe Yakes and company out back. Wrecking big time as, we had one truck get almost upside down, it looks like. In fact, yeah, there was one upside down. And then the photo finish, which we'll get back to here in just a moment. See who that was that got upside down. I think it was the 22 of Haas Beverly. Watch the 22 here. And then this wreck. No, actually it was the 13 of Mark Beverly, his teammate. They wrecked big coming across the line, but getting back to the finish right here. Watch these two. Never giving up, keeping it clean. I think once Winker realized that he lost his help after they started wrecking out back, that's when he decided, all right, it's time to get down here and try to get a little physical, but just too little too late. If we were at Talladega, might have worked. But at Daytona, that start-finish line, it's in the tri-oval, and there it is. The margin of victory for Bill Hales, not much, but just enough. All right, we're going to go get your top 3 in here for interviews. Stay with us. We'll be right back at Daytona. All right, going to start first here tonight with your third place finisher, Eric Hegdahl. Eric, this is all set up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, but I got it.
Well, you bring home a podium finish here tonight. Final race before the playoffs. You got yourself locked in, so it wasn't too much pressure on tonight, but how does it feel to get a podium and get some momentum going into the playoffs next week?
Yeah. Podium's always nice. When you're that close to the win, it's kind of, it sucks to get third place when you have a shot. And felt like I was in a good spot there, and then I had the 16 behind. I think it was 16 behind me, and we just wasn't going anywhere there at the end. But definitely nice bringing home with I think only a 4X, so that's pretty good. Stayed out of trouble for most of the race, and overall had somewhat of a clean race.
Absolutely. Well, we talked about next week. Playoff opener, and you've already got yourself a couple wins on the season, but how do you kind of shift the mindset when we get into the playoffs next week? Do you stick with the same approach, or do you maybe go for more of a points approach and try to capture stage wins and other things?
Yeah, I'm not sure yet. I don't even know where we're at next week. But I think just keep doing what I've been doing, trying to go for wins. And if I feel like if it's a track that I'm not good at or I struggle at, just try to salvage whatever I can get. But I'm looking forward to it, though. It's going to be a good battle, and hoping we can come out on top.
Absolutely. Well, before we let you head out here tonight, is there anyone you'd like to thank or shout out?
Yeah, shout out you for putting on a great broadcast every week. Can't wait to go back and rewatch this. And my spotter David, he was helping me out, showing me, telling me what I need to know. Couldn't have done it without him. And my teammates Isaac, Braden, unfortunately they're unable to race in this league, but I know they were out in the chat watching. And Sonic Graphic Design, winning bid, and all the other competitors out there.
Thank you, of course, for talking to us. And again, congrats on the third place finish, and we will see you next week.
Sounds good.
All right, and now that's going to bring us to your second place finisher, Kevin Winker. Kevin, this is Austin in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, man, you wanted that win, and you were 200ths away from it. So close, but it just doesn't quite work out. First question is the one that always becomes a kicker. Is there anything that you wish you would have done different on that last lap?
No, I think I was sitting good. Just the 90, I think the 92 kind of went 3 and kind of pushed the 11 up. I think I would have got Bill there, and then once that kind of stalled the momentum, and then I just dragged it to me and Bill, and he had more momentum. So it sucks, and I always seem behind Bill at these plate checks. I don't know what it is, but I just can't beat him. So we'll try it the next one. But yeah, I mean, overall, after the kind of had a rough, we did good on the stage, and then me and I think the 11 got into something. I don't know. I have to go back and look at that, but I don't know what that was. That kind of put me at the back, and then I got trashed in one of them wrecks that he's fast repair, and then I just was super aggressive tonight, try to get back to the front, because I know passing's hard here, especially with it being the legacy track, so I want to get to the front and kind of put myself in some bad spots, but it all worked out, and came up P2, so not bad for heading into the playoffs next week.
Not bad at all. A good finish indeed. So before we let you head out to go get ready for the playoffs next week, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to my sponsor, Bruce Muehlberger. Muehlberger Custom Homes, Cranbourne, sponsor me in all my leagues. I know he's watching tonight, so a big shout out to him. I know he's happy when I can put on the podium. Second, all Winker Nation. My girlfriend Shauna, Brett, Nicole, Justin, Brandon, Dylan, all them guys that come out every night and support me. Can't thank them enough. Nate Cogdo at Sonic Graphic Design for the paint. Go check them out, Sonic Graphic Design, if you need any paint, t-shirt, stickers, like that. I think Bill actually won a free paint from tonight, so shout out to him. And then I don't have any teammates really, but shout out to Herbert. He was kind of, I guess you call him my teammate till he got wrecked there, but shout out to him for the stage win. Nice to see him up there. And then shout out to Bill as always for the win. It's always a nice battle between him and I, these play tracks. So shout out to him, and then all the league admins that put this on, and you for the broadcast. We appreciate it.
Thank you, of course, for talking to us again. Congrats on the second place finish, and we'll see you next week at Vegas.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, and now that'll bring us to your winner here tonight, Bill Hales. Bill, this is Austin in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, bud. How are you doing tonight?
Good. Well, you get your first win in the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Truck Series of the season, but not too surprised. No stranger of wins at super speedways. We saw you get the job done at Daytona over in the Noma Truck Series, and now you get the job done at Daytona over here. So first question I got for you is, man, we didn't see you necessarily lead a ton of laps, but there at the end, the aggression showed. It paid off. What was going through your mind, and how did you set up those last two laps?
Well, I needed it to go green because if we didn't get it on that green-white checker, I was going to have to pit. I had like 4/10 of fuel left when we crossed the finish line, but it's going to push Winker out ahead and get to the outside to get around him and get back down to the bottom and get in front of him. I knew he was going to try to make a pass on the outside, but I figured the 92 would come up and push me, and he did. And then when he tried to make his pass come to the trial, I kind of broke up the momentum behind me, so I was lucky to win. It seems that these super speedways come down to me and Winker the last, in this league and a couple other leagues,
Yeah, well, he was saying that too, and it certainly seemed like the case here tonight with you guys battling, and it was a lot of fun to watch. Now, you got that first win out of the way. You're looking good in points. Now, of course, technically you're locked in. Not that it was going to be much of an issue anyway, and now that you do have that first win, how is this going to help with momentum going into the playoffs?
Well, I've got quite a few tracks in the playoffs I'm good at. I've got wins at Vegas and Michigan, so I'm looking forward to it. I've been close a couple times this year to get wins, but it's nice to get a win, and I'm ready to go to the playoff. We'll see what happens.
Sounds good. Well, before we let you head out tonight to go celebrate, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, I want to thank Mark and Haas for everything to do with Asphalt Outlaws League, and also to the wife. She sponsors the car. Her companies are all over, M&H Construction and Melanie House Photography. And you, man, your streams are awesome. Appreciate everything you do.
Thank you, of course, for talking to us again. Congrats on the win, and we will see you next week at Vegas.
All right, buddy. Have a good night.
You as well. All right, that's going to wrap up our coverage here tonight from the World Center of Racing. The winning bid, $225, goes to Bill Hales in the 53. Next week, first round of the playoffs at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Again, I won't be broadcasting that one. Not sure if there will be a broadcast yet or not. But nonetheless, these guys are going to put on a phenomenal race. Question is going to be who will get the job done there and lock themselves into the next round. Thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. As always, I hope you enjoyed. That's it for me, Austin Green, here on Ghost Racing Network. And until next time, have a good night.